Hello there, Internet. My name is Mogwai, and ahead of us lies yet another brilliant day in the arena. As today, we are going to be showcasing LILIANA and Jace committing a crime of passion, or rather, reenacting it, as we have a deck built around a card that, as soon as I opened it in my first pack, I think it was one of my first packs for Murders at the Karlov Manor, and this card popped out, and I was just like, yep, I'm going to build a deck around this. Like, this is my kind of card. It's definitely a bit of a challenge to deck build around a card like this, but I do feel like Reenact the Crime ultimately is a card that can be built in several different ways, actually. But I took the Dimir approach, and I'm going to explain that in a bit. But first of all, let's talk about what the card actually does. It's a 4-mana instant that reads, exile target non-land card in a graveyard that was put there from anywhere this turn. And then you copy it. And then you may cast the copy without paying its mana cost. That's a very important line. Like, that is what you really should fixate on, without paying its mana cost. This allows you, for 4 mana at instant speed, it enables you to cast really expensive spells that you have no business playing early on and cheating them out, essentially. But in order to do so, we have to set up some proper combos, right? Because this card is a very small window for it to operate on, right? Like, it needs to target a card that was put into a graveyard that very turn. Like, where it came from does not matter. As long as it ended up in the graveyard, that card is game for this card. So we designed a Dimir control deck with LILIANA of the Veil and Jace the Perfected Mind as our planeswalkers, then a bunch of really high-end creatures that we're going to be cheating out, and a series of surveils and removal cards for our early game. So let's talk about it. First of all, let's address the removal real quickly. We have Bitter Triumph, go for the throat, but then we have Harvester of Misery. We have Virtue of Persistence, representing the Lockwing Scorn as an option that can allow us to deal with early threats and gain life as well, even though it is a sorcery speed. You see we're running 4 copies of Virtue of Persistence, and that's going to make sense in just a moment. But I chose this card because it can represent that end game bomb that we want to be working towards, while also giving us early game removal that we may need against very fast-paced decks that are quite prevalent in best of 1 ranked ladder. So we have these removals. We have our surveil effects, Otherworldly Gaze. We also play Curate as a 3-of, but this card is really important because this card is the major enabler for a lot of our combos, right? We are utilizing Surveil, either self-discard or milling, as our sources to enable Reenact the Crime. So a combo that comes to mind, for example, is on turn 5. We have Otherworldly Gaze and we have Reenact the Crime. At the very end of our opponent's turn, at instant speed, we can play Otherworldly Gaze for 1 mana. We can Surveil 3. We can send some big cards to the graveyard in the process, and then go for Reenact the Crime and bring them back onto the board, which is pretty wild. But that's actually one of the more tame combos because it's happening on turn 5. Even if it is happening at instant speed, it's turn 5, right? You can expect big things to happen at turn 5. But we could do it even earlier, ladies and gentlemen. With a LILIANA of the Veil, a lot of scenarios with this deck lead to a LILIANA being played on turn 3, going for the -2 to deal with their creature. They have no more creatures on the board, and they have no real way of dealing with LILIANA immediately. So on turn 4, when we untap, we go for the +1 immediately. We discard a card, something like a Virtue of Persistence. Our opponent discards a card, and what is initially a symmetrical effect, it's very surely becomes something that's quite the opposite of that. As we're going to go for Reenact the Crime, and then bring back that Virtue of Persistence that we discarded, and we get to play this crazy, powerful, game-winning enchantment at turn 4, which is really hard for the opponent to come back from unless they have immediate removal for it. We're going to be generating tremendous value. You don't need to have a deck super dense in creatures in order for Virtue of Persistence to work, because it's counting your opponent's graveyard as well. So our removal is also feeding this enchantment as well, and it's allowing us to essentially break that balance and win the value game over time. That's what Virtue of Persistence does. It does not win the game immediately. It may take a long time for it to actually win, but if your opponent does not deal with it and you keep coming and you make sure you stay alive, you will come out on top with this enchantment on the board, because you're just getting this tremendous value again and again, turn after turn, and God forbid if you play more copies of it, which this deck is capable of doing. That's why we're running 4 copies of this enchantment right here, because we got the means to cheat these cards out And this is like the major endgame enabler. Liliana the Veil can discard a card, like I mentioned, but with Jace, we can also do this by going for the -2, milling ourselves 3 cards. This can be set up. Something I like to do a lot with this deck is go for a turn 2 Otherworldly Gaze, Surveil 3, and then when I Surveil 3, I leave a card at the very end, right? So I keep the 3 cards, but I leave a card at the very end. Then turn 3 happens. I go for Jace. I go for the +1 to slow my opponent's aggression down and make sure that Jace survives. And then I go into turn 4 the same way I went with Liliana. You know, even though Jace seems like he's a 4 cost, that completed is a Phyrexian mana, which can be paid for with life instead of like actual mana. So you can play Jace on turn 3 with but having him enter with like less loyalty counters, which makes him easier to remove. But again, you play him on turn 3, you go for the +1, you -3 a creature, you go into turn 4, you -2 yourself, and you mill those cards. So as you surveil turn 2, those 3 cards that you put on top, you draw the other one on turn 3, and then you draw the other one on turn 4, but you still have that one card that you set up with the surveil waiting right there, that big card that you put there that you're going to mill with Jace on turn 4, as you can go for Reenact the Crime, and for 4 mana you get to play it. That's a setup that you go for with this deck. It's kind of convoluted, but I really wanted to dive into it because that's something that you can do, and the deck is designed to favor into that. So as we do that, we have a bunch of endgame creatures that will really help us stay on top, basically. Harvester of Misery is a phenomenal addition to this deck because it represents removal early on. It seems like our removal options are somewhat low initially at first glance, but then you realize we have 4 copies of Virtue of Persistence, and we have 2 copies of Harvester of Misery that can be used to deal with early aggression. Harvester of Misery also functions well with Reenact the Crime because we can just, these 2 cards alone, and us having 6 mana can allow us to chain them both and get both effects of Harvester of Misery happening, which against like a Boros Convoke matchup, we could -2/-2 a Knight Errant of Eos, for example, and then Reenact the Crime and bring the Harvester of Misery into the board and fully wipe them. Specific scenario, but it has happened to me before. As then we have Deadly Cover-Up as well for a full board wipe, and like I mentioned, the big creatures. Jin Gitaxias is, you know, as close as a creature is gonna get to like a Yu-Gi-Oh monster, basically. Not only aesthetically, but mainly because of the way it functions. Yu-Gi-Oh is a very different card game to Magic. And in Yu-Gi-Oh, you have these creatures, these high-end creatures that you, or monsters that you build towards that can allow you to counter the opponent's plays, right? Jin Gitaxias is like that. You know, he comes in, and if you look at the second paragraph, it says, whenever an opponent casts an artifact, instant, or sorcery spell, counter that spell. This ability only triggers 1 each turn. So there are ways to maneuver around this, but in the worst case scenario, this card is going to be a 2-for-1 card advantage trade for you. And that being the worst case scenario for a card, this is pretty good. This is honestly a pretty big deal. Like, it's pretty nice. So Jin Gitaxias here just allows you to duplicate your spells after, and it's just one of those creatures that if he sticks on the board, the game is pretty much over, especially if you have a Virtue of Persistence on the board. That's what we are, a late game control deck. We try to control the game, slow it down, and reach a point in which our value just completely overwhelms the opponent. And it's built around this card right here. I like the Hoarding Bloodlord as a one-off because it's a really good unit to bring back with Virtue of Persistence and just to bring onto the board in general, because we get to search whatever card we want and we get to exile it and play it whenever we want from that exiled spot, which is really neat. I don't think I have to explain why. Like, that's just really good. It's like a tutor on a win condition combined. As we also have a one-off of Shoulder the Apocalypse, because even in a high-end creature-based bomb endgame curve like this, Shieldred still manages to earn a spot. she's that good. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the deck list right there. We have 26 lands in total. We have a higher density of blue over black, even though we do have more black cards than blue cards in the deck. We still run more sources of blue because Reenact the Crime requires 3 sources of blue. So if we are combining Reenact the Crime with Otherworldly Gaze on turn 5, for example, we need at least 4 sources of blue mana which requires us to run ultimately more sources of blue, more islands than swamps in this deck specifically. And that's where I'm going to end it at. Thank you guys for watching. Stay tuned for daily Magic the Gathering content. Today's games are fire. I put a lot of thought into this deck, though I do believe there's many different ways of building around this card. It's a very compelling card from a deck building perspective. But I put a lot of work into it, a lot of hours, and I ended up with a deck that's definitely not tier 1. Like I'm not breaking the meta with this, but it can compete with the very best, and it's just awesome. It's awesome to play, it's awesome to watch, and I hope you guys enjoy it. So yeah, love you, have a solid day, enjoy the games. I'll see you guys tomorrow. All right, here we go. Let's reenact the crime of passion. This is probably like the hardest deck to pilot that I've made so far. Even more so than the Hilda deck. It's pretty, very unforgiving, but extremely rewarding. Because with cards like Otherworldly Gaze, like you can actually really think far up ahead and use the Surveil as a means to set up your next, like, your next turn. Cards in graveyards can be the target of spells or abilities. Yeah, you have to die. You have to die, like, now. Before that can even be countered, like that card single-handedly like disrupts what we're doing. Wedding Announcement. Shipwreck Marsh. There we go. We're gonna go for the Curate now. Surveil 2 and then draw 1. I'm gonna get rid of all these. I want to find some other key pieces. Don't want to drop the Otherworldly Gaze though, because we can enable a turn 5. Reenact the crime. I'm gonna go for an Underground River. And I'm gonna pass again. That is transformed. We're gonna go for the Curate again. Okay. They have blue, which leads me to believe that they have counter spells and stuff like that, which is why they haven't developed that. They developed that knight there, but we have the combo here with Otherworldly Gaze and Reenact the Crime. Before they head for the attack here. As they commit it, we're going to go for the Otherworldly Gaze. We're going to look at the top 3 cards of our deck. All these work. As now, we can reenact the crime and bring back the Harvester of Misery. And they counter that. Unfortunately, we do not have the ability to, like, because we could surveil, but the board wipe that we want needs to be drawn now. And now we play Jace.
For the sake of Phyrexia, I will keep watch. Heal. You can easily be solved for.
I'm gonna use Jace to target this.
Organic minds are easily quelled.
I could develop the virtual persistence. They seem to be holding up some counter spells in order to do that. So I want to play Liliana. Definitely expecting more disruption. Like virtual persistence being played now, I think is ultimately a mistake. And now I can bypass that as they go for another one. We got 2 counter spells out of them. And this Jace is doing what I want him to do, which is essentially delay the opponent's onslaught.
What you're thinking won't work.
When one or more creature cards are put into graveyards from anywhere, investigate. If exile, okay. So now's when we play Virtual Persistence, because now's when we can survive with Virtual Persistence. We gotta do this. Hit you. And I mean, we could just go for Liliana again.
Fight? And you think you can win?
Full control. Pay and discard. So we killed that, and we trigger the discard from Liliana as well. That's why we go full control there.
I'm tired of your secrets.
They actually attacked Liliana?
You know, I think you'd look better as a corpse.
Otherworldly gaze. Reenact the crime. Okay.
Waste of my time. I'll take my zombies and leave. Off you go.
Organic minds are easily quelled.
We play Virtue Persistence here.
Noise.
Alleviate a little bit of pressure, even if I do draw them a card. I'm not going to play that there because I have the ability to combine this later. Okay. I'm gonna go for this before I draw. Otherworldly Gaze. Now we're talking. Thing is, I need to draw more cards. Fuck it. Okay, so now Jin Gitaxias will counter every spell that they play first. Get lost. As long as we kill that, they can't crew it. As long as they don't have back-to-back removals. God damn it. don't need that. Reenact the crime. With this, I could potentially destroy something and bring it back, but I don't see the appeal right now. I gotta get rid of that. Reenacting the crime and bringing back Jingy taxes and not being able to bring it back on there. Gotta bring it back here, even if we take a little bit of damage there. And we got him! And we got him! Oh, man! Alright, let's go for round 2. Against Javil. Jevil. We got Liliana with Reenact the Crime. And 2 big boy discards right there. Dark Lake Shores to lead off with. 3 sources of blue in hand already. 2 sources of black. Met 2. You cannot say no to this hand. We're gonna drop that Undersea Sewers in there, and I'm gonna keep that. Liliana. Nice.
No more distractions. Let's make this quick. We all have things we'd rather forget.
We're gonna use Liliana to discard the Hoarding Broodlord. They're wide open. They're wide open for the combo. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Watch. Pay attention. Island. Liliana +1. We discard Virtue of Persistence. Drop it. Drop it now. And now we reenact the crime, baby. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. With this dude on the graveyard. Let's not laugh too maniacally, because that's when things go wrong. Okay. Combo. They're comboing. But oh baby, I can go again. And now something that we can take out, that we can use. What would be best? I mean, I want to clear this with Virtue. Like, I was thinking of dropping a second Virtue, but that's just too greedy. Like, we got to kill this Synthesizer. So that this is, like, less... Like, we're less vulnerable to that. Then we keep tackling their hand. So, we want to get something for 2 mana, I think. Let's get a Curate. This is a threat. So we're gonna respect it. I could just put them on the clock with this Liliana though.
Don't overthink things.
Another land would be fine. But let's keep the options real. Now this Liliana of the Veil will essentially ult unless they do something about it. They play the Molten Duplication, which allows them to create a token of this artifact. This artifact is the one that's generating these creatures, but the Hoarding Broodlord is there, halting them down. That's what the deck is about. That's the ideal combo right there with the Reenact the Crime. Maybe I didn't like sequence the I could have done things a little bit differently. I could have fished for something a little bit more useful, but in the matchup, I'm not sure what I have in my deck that actually just like breaks through that. I think we just have to like let Virtue of Persistence do its thing and win. Round 3. All right, here we go. La ley. That's the law for Spanish. Guy. Don't play. They went for a mulligan. We see... okay, so it's just like MONORED. Stunning and brave. We don't need as many lands like these, especially like self-harming lands like these ones. The good news is with one underground river... Okay, they're going for the big hit. They're going for the big hit, and we are gonna show them the virtue of persisting. By going for the Lockwing Scorn. Get a little bit of health back. And now we play the Undercity Sewers, and we keep this removal at hand. And we do not say no to lands. Whatever shape, form they may be in. Let's go for another one. An Undercity Sewers here. Let's get rid of that Liliana. Though I wouldn't mind playing this Liliana. Definitely.
I'll have this fight finished before brunch.
We got Deadly Cover Up, but we don't really need it. Though, to be fair, for now I'm just going to drop the Darkless Shores. Keep attacking their hand.
I'm tired of your secrets.
Now we're talking. Now we're talking. I'm going to go for a Curate so I can find the land. I'm going to undo all those two. We do not find the land, but we have the Reenact the Crime now. And we keep 2 men open for removal because they're basically at their wits' ends. Yeah. Liliana. All you, girl. We're missing 2 sources of blue with this hand. And we also have like some rough cards here. With a Liliana, we can really get this going. But we gotta be wary. We gotta be wary of our lack of blue here. And I think that warrants us going for the Otherworldly Gaze and Surveilling. So we can find those sources of blue. Damn. Well, you go. You go. You stay. Swamp. We're filling up some creatures for a potential persistence, virtue of persistence that can start, you know, bringing them back. Seems to be a poison deck. Liliana is ideal here. And we got another source of blue. So if it ain't broken, don't fix it. We could get countered here. Nice.
Those who get in my way tend to regret it.
We're gonna Liliana of the Veil. They're gonna return it to their hand and proliferate, but Liliana is on the board.
Haven't you ever heard of personal space?
And now is when they're wide open. And we find a blue source of mana. It's meant to be. It's meant to be. +1. Discard. We're gonna discard Jin Gataxias. Progress Tyrant. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we reenact the crime. We play 3 blue, and we bring in Jin. Yeah, baby. The very first non-creature spell that they play every turn will be countered. Do they have the answer? They phase out. Oh, baby. Oh, baby.
Drop it.
Oh, yeah.
Phyrexian showed me the truth. Flesh. No secret escapes my grasp.
And we keep them in the back. Now Jin completely shuts them down. They're going face. And I'm blocking. Nope. Oh yeah, nice poisons. I think I'm gonna let you get away with that shit. I can use this. This costs like nothing. This costs like 1 mana, right? Legendary, legendary, legendary. This costs 1 mana. I can get rid of those for 1 mana. I'm gonna go with this because the very first one that I play, I get to surveil a shitload, basically. I do not find what I want to find. But I do get rid of all that.
Off you go.
This needs like 5. This needs like 2 more lands that they don't have. So I'm gonna make them sacrifice one of these, and then I'm gonna apply -3 to the other. The very first spell that I cast every turn, I get to copy it. So I'm gonna copy these. I wanna find the Reenact the crime so I can just pop off with Jin here. I mean, we're at a point of the game where we stabilize. They have nothing. I have a card on the board that will counter the first non-creature spell they cast every turn, and they're literally top decking. So it is really checkmate. Like, unless this can allow them to continue to generate tokens, because this is gonna, you know, they're gonna be able to keep going, right? But with Liliana, I can slow that down. With Jace, I can always halt 1, and I can push a little bit of damage this turn. Like this turn, I can afford to attack actually, which I'm having to worry about retaliation, because the toxic units require, they need to deal damage in order to trigger the toxic. So I think this is just I think Pink Poison left this game probably like 5 minutes ago.
You can be made to obey.
Exactly. Or maybe they're still in it. Okay, Gunthor. Good enough to be a keep. We have a 4-lander, and we have Otherworldly Gaze. We have Curate as well. So we're going to be able to surveil through our deck quite effectively. Otherworldly Gaze, we may want to preserve. It depends. If I draw into a 5th land, I will go for this because I do not want to flood. I said that in my... I believe Gunthor here mulliganed twice? Oh, but they're aggressive. Okay. Yeah, no, we're definitely gonna be gazing. No setup yet. Before the end of turn, we gaze. We gaze into the unknown. We have Virtue of Persistence, so we can send you over there. We can send you over there. And we can keep the Jace. Island. Virtue of Persistence. Well, block Wayne Scorn, actually. Before they can build that up.
I've already read your thoughts. You won't stop. Organic minds are easily quelled.
Okay, so it seems our Jace is gonna go down.
Retreat is the sensible action.
Okay, can we curate into something good here? Ah, you gotta be kidding me. Nah, we cannot afford these. They mulligan twice and they're still gonna get the W. Maybe I jumped the gun with my removal, but I didn't think I'd be in this position. I gotta keep surveilling as if my life depended on it. And have one final attempt to survive. We've gone through a lot of cards in our deck. If we can find a deadly cover-up, we can combine our Otherworldly Gaze with this Reenact the Crime, and as the creature from this spawns, and now as they attack is when we try to do this. We need to find it though. That is not exactly it. And now that spawns. We reenact the crime and bring back the Harvester of Misery. Oh! Okay. Okay. Man, we're not out of the waters by any means, though. They've dealt so much damage, and this thing just keeps popping every turn. It's a nightmare. Okay, let's let that resolve. Let's let that resolve as well. And now we're gonna go for the otherworldly gaze. We could reenact the crime here, and then develop the progress tyrant. We prevent any sort of damage happening this turn, and then the progress tyrant can allow us to really potentially pop off. We can easily deal with this, though, is the problem. We're not gonna reenact the crime. We're gonna draw, and we're gonna develop Jill Gitaxius. We need to survive one more turn. Okay. Three, four, five, six, seven, eight. That means I can play both of these. But now let's just hold back. Because the first, like, something that just came up to my mind. Okay, countered. Well, I want to test this now. Now's a good time to test this. If I go for the otherworldly gaze, yeah, no, it has to be like this. We have to surveil here. Man, look at all this sexy shit. Look at all this sexy shit. We would have been able to do this. Into this. And we have the health gain, we just don't have it at that kind of speed. We just do not have it at that kind of speed. But we would have been able to clear this as well. That's sad. That's sad. All right. Inspect a deck. I'm gonna need you to inspect my deck. Because I'm out for vengeance. We don't do back-to-back losses here. Not on the MegaMogwai channel. No, sir. I'm out for blood. Things were going great, and then the lightning strike happened. I'm gonna go with Dark Lake Shores. I like this hand. We have to curate. We have 2 sources of blue and 2 sources of black already. Which is very neat. I'm gonna drop this Underground River. I have Harvester of Misery and Curate as options. They go for the Bitter Reunion. They can discard a card and then draw 2 cards. Oh, definitely some Reanimator action going on here. We're gonna go ahead and draw. I'm gonna drop these 2. I was hoping that I could find the Liliana of the Veil. Planeswalker. Powerful, powerful, powerful effect here. But we can use resolve the crime, reenact the crime against them. If they discard more stuff. Oh my god. Oh my god. Cruelty of Gix. Listen, attack their hand. Get rid of motherfucking Italy. And honestly, just pick up a land, right? No, I can't pick up... Yeah, we pick up a land. Cruelty of Gix. No, I clicked full control, so okay, never mind. And with the Tally, we get to counter the Jintaxias there. We go for the throat. You're not an artifact creature. Go for the throat. Land. Planeswalker. And you. Beautiful. Beautiful. Has to be from their graveyard. If I play you, and now I go for the throat, then I can reenact the crime and bring him back. Oh man, I feel something when I play this deck. I know it's not the best like deck ever, but it's just an amazing feeling. Oh my god. Yeah, we're gonna end it there. Hope you enjoyed. Have a swell day. I'll see you tomorrow.